There is a kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels heavy. You've been praying for a long time now, quietly, faithfully, and the answer still hasn't come. You keep waiting for a sign, a door to open, a phone to ring, something, anything, to tell you that God has not forgotten what you asked Him for. But morning comes, and it looks the same as yesterday. The situation hasn't changed. The waiting hasn't ended. And somewhere underneath the smile you show the world, there's a question you've been almost afraid to ask out loud. Is He even working on this? Or have I been standing here, alone, while nothing moves at all? You've watched other people's prayers get answered. You've celebrated for them, even while something inside you quietly wondered when it would finally be your turn. You've done everything you know how to do. You've been faithful. You've shown up. You've believed. And still, the silence stretches on. Maybe you check your phone a little too often, hoping for news that never comes. Maybe you've rehearsed the conversation you'd have if the answer finally arrived, and then put it away again, because it still hasn't. Maybe you've started preparing yourself for disappointment, quietly, just so it won't hurt as much if it comes. There's a particular kind of tired that comes from hoping quietly for too long. It's not the tired that sleep fixes. It sits behind your eyes in the morning, even after 8 hours in bed. It shows up in the sigh you let out before you even open your phone, bracing yourself, just in case today is another day of nothing. You haven't said any of this to anyone, not fully, not the real weight of it. But this morning, it's the truth you're carrying. Welcome. Take a breath before we go any further. Just one slow breath in, and let it out. You don't have to hold this by yourself for one more minute. Not here. Not in this moment. Whatever you've been carrying quietly, the waiting, the doubt, the tired kind of hope that keeps trying anyway, you can set it down now. This morning isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about something deeper. It's about remembering that the silence you've been living in is not empty. There is more happening than you can see. And before we bring any of this to God, let's take a moment to notice what is already good, what is already a gift, even in a season that feels unfinished. Before we pray, let's take a moment to remember everything that is already a gift in your life. Start with your breath, in and out. So simple you almost forget it's happening. And yet it's proof that you're here, still breathing. Thank God for that, for the quiet miracle of a body that keeps going, even on the mornings when your heart feels tired. Thank Him for this day, even before you know what it holds. For the light finding its way through your window. For one more chance to begin again. No matter what yesterday looked like, think of the people who love you, the ones who check on you, who sit with you in the hard seasons, who don't need you to have it all figured out. Thank God for them, for every text message that came at just the right time, for every hand that reached for yours without being asked, for the friend who called on the one day you needed to hear a voice and not just silence. Think about your body. Imperfect, maybe tired, maybe aching in places, but still carrying you through your days. Thank God for the strength it holds, even the strength you didn't know you had. For your eyes that can still see this morning, for your ears that can still hear the birds outside or the quiet hum of your own home. Think about the roof over your head, the bed you woke up in, the food waiting in your kitchen. These are things you might walk past without noticing most days, but they are gifts, every single one. Thank God for provision that has never once run out, even in the seasons when it felt like it might. Think back over your life for a moment. Think of the times you were afraid something wouldn't work out, and somehow it did. The job that came through at the last minute, the bill that got paid in a way you still can't fully explain, the relationship that healed when you thought it never would. Thank God for those moments. They were not luck. They were Him, moving quietly the way He so often does. Think of the mistakes you've made, the ones you were sure would define you forever, and how you're still here, still loved, still moving forward. Thank God for mercy that renews itself every single morning, new all over again, no matter how many times you've needed it. Think, too, of the seasons that have already changed in your life, the ones that once felt permanent and aren't anymore. The job that felt impossible to leave, and you left it. The grief that felt like it would never lift, and it did, slowly, in its own time. The version of you from a few years ago who couldn't have imagined surviving what you've already survived. You did. Thank God for that. Think of the small comforts scattered through your ordinary days. A cup of something warm in your hands, a favorite song that plays at just the right moment, a quiet room where you can finally exhale. These are not accidents either. They are little mercies placed exactly where you'd notice them if you slowed down enough to look. Think about the work of your hands, whatever it looks like right now. A job, a home, the care of children, the quiet labor no one applauds. Thank God for purpose, even on the days it feels unnoticed. Nothing you do in faithfulness is ever wasted, even when it feels invisible. And think, if you can, of the prayers that were never answered the way you asked, the job you didn't get, the door that closed, the person who wasn't right for you after all. Looking back now, can you see how some of those unanswered prayers were actually mercy, wearing a disguise you couldn't recognize at the time? Thank God for the prayers He didn't answer the way you wanted. They may have saved you from something you couldn't see coming. And now, gently, think about the very thing that's been weighing on you. The waiting, the silence, the thing you've been asking God about for so long. Even here, especially here, there is something to be grateful for. Because the fact that you're still hoping means your heart hasn't given up. Thank God for that kind of endurance. It didn't come from nowhere. It came from Him, holding you steady, even when you couldn't feel His hand. Thank Him for every small provision along the way. The bill that somehow got paid, the unexpected kindness from a stranger, the moment you thought you couldn't keep going, and then somehow you did. Those weren't accidents. Thank Him too for the people who prayed for you without you even knowing, for the quiet ways He has protected you from things you never saw coming and will probably never even know about. Thank Him for the version of you that is still standing today, a little wiser, a little softer, a little more familiar with what it means to trust Him even when nothing makes sense. That growth was not free. It cost you something. But it was not wasted. Thank Him too for this very moment, for the fact that you made space this morning to slow down, to breathe, to sit with Him before the demands of the day pull you in every direction. That choice matters more than you know. It's not a small thing to pause and remember who is holding your life, even for a few quiet minutes before the noise begins. Think of the version of yourself who almost skipped this morning altogether, who almost let the alarm, the rush, the noise of the day take over before there was room for this. But you didn't. You chose, even in the middle of your waiting, to show up here. Thank God for that small act of faith. It is worth more than it feels like right now. Thank Him for the rhythm of ordinary days. The coffee, the commute, the familiar routines that hold your life together, even when everything else feels uncertain. There is something steady in the ordinary, something that quietly whispers, even on hard days, that life is still moving forward, that you are still here, still capable of beginning again. Think, too, of the seasons outside your window, how winter always gives way to spring, even after it feels like it will never end. No one has ever had to force a tree to bloom. It simply does when the time is right, after months of looking completely lifeless. Thank God for a world that models patience for you everywhere you look, if you take the time to notice it. Your own season of waiting is not so different. It is not lifeless. It is simply not blooming yet. Thank Him for the quiet resilience you've carried without even realizing it. The way you keep choosing hope on ordinary Tuesday mornings when no one is watching, when there's no audience to applaud you for it. That kind of faith is some of the most valuable kind there is, because it costs you something, and nobody sees you pay it. He sees. He has always seen. You may not have proof of everything He's done, but you have this morning. You have breath in your lungs. You have a heart that is still soft enough to hope. That is not nothing. That is grace. Let your gratitude settle for a moment. Just breathe it in, and let it remind you that even in the waiting, you have not been abandoned. Now that your heart is open and grateful, let us bring everything you carry to God in prayer. Lord, I don't fully understand what you're doing right now. I've asked and I've waited, and the waiting has felt so long. Some days it feels like nothing is moving at all, like I'm standing in the same place I stood months ago, still hoping for the same breakthrough, still holding the same prayer in my hands, still whispering the same request into what feels like an empty room. I'm tired, Lord. Tired of hoping quietly. Tired of pretending I'm not disappointed when another day passes and nothing has changed. I don't say this to complain. I say it because you already know it, and because I need you to know that I still trust you, even when I don't understand you. I've wondered, more than once, if I did something wrong. If maybe I'm being punished, or forgotten, or passed over for someone whose life seems to be moving faster than mine. I've compared my life to others and wondered why their prayers were answered so quickly, while mine seems to be sitting untouched on a shelf somewhere. But Lord, even as I say that out loud, something in me knows that isn't the whole truth, because you have never once left me. Not on the hardest night. Not in the middle of my doubt. Not even now. On this ordinary morning, that doesn't feel like much of anything. So I bring you this waiting, Lord. I lay it down in front of you, because I can't carry it by myself anymore. Peace. I need your peace, Lord. Not the peace that comes after the answer arrives, but the peace that can hold me while I'm still waiting for it. The peace that doesn't depend on my circumstances changing. The peace that comes only from you and nowhere else. Give me grace for today. Grace for the parts of me that are tired. Grace for the moments when my faith feels small, when my prayers feel more like sighs than words. You are not asking me to be strong all the time, Lord. You are asking me to stay close to you. So I will stay close, even when staying close feels like the hardest thing I do all day. I think of the weight I've been carrying in my body, the tension in my shoulders, the tightness in my chest, the sleep that doesn't come as easily as it used to. Lord, I ask for rest. Not just rest for one night, but the kind of rest that reaches into my bones, the kind that comes from finally believing you have this. Lord, there is a part of me that has started to believe the door I've been knocking on is closed forever, that the thing I've hoped for isn't coming. I've started building a smaller life around a smaller hope, just so I won't be disappointed again. I've stopped talking about it out loud. I've stopped letting myself imagine what it would feel like if it finally happened, but I don't want to live like that. I don't want to shrink my faith down to protect my heart. So today, I ask you to help me believe again, not blindly, but honestly. Help me trust that a door being closed to me right now does not mean it's closed forever. Help me remember that you see what I cannot see, and that you are working even when the door stays shut, even when the silence on the other side feels like a verdict. I release the timeline I made for myself, Lord. I release the picture I had of how this was supposed to look by now, the plan I drew up in my own mind, the deadline I quietly gave you without ever saying it out loud. I trade it for your timing, even though I don't fully understand it, even though it's costing me something to let it go. There is shame, too, that I haven't spoken out loud. Shame for doubting you. Shame for the nights I wondered if you even hear me anymore. Shame for the moments I got angry, or bitter, or quietly gave up trying to pray at all. I bring that shame to you now, Lord, because I don't want to hide it. I don't want to pretend I've had perfect faith through all of this. And your word tells me something I need to hear right now. That you are not looking at my doubt with anger. You are looking at me with grace. You are not keeping score of every time I questioned you. You are holding me patiently, the way a father holds a child who is learning to trust him, one wobbly step at a time. So I release the shame. I trade it for grace. I don't have to earn your love by having perfect faith. I already have it. I already had it, even on the days I forgot. Lord, give me rest. Rest for my mind, which keeps replaying the same worries on a loop I can't seem to turn off. Rest for my body, which has been carrying tension it doesn't even know how to name. Rest for my spirit, which has been fighting to hope for so long that hope itself has started to feel exhausting. I ask for strength too, not the kind of strength that pretends everything is fine, but the quiet, steady kind of strength that keeps showing up. The kind that gets up in the morning even when the answer still hasn't come. The kind that keeps praying even when the prayer feels the same as it did yesterday, and the day before that, and the week before that. Give me strength for the ordinary parts of today. The conversations I don't feel ready for. The responsibilities that don't pause just because my heart is tired. Let your strength meet me in the small moments. not just the big ones. Lord, I have carried the fear that maybe I've been forgotten. That while everyone else's life seems to be moving forward, mine has been standing still, stuck in the same chapter while the world keeps turning the page without me. I know deep down that stillness is not the same as absence. You have never been absent from my life, not for a single day, not for a single hour. I think of the ways you've worked before, in seasons I couldn't see at the time. I think of how you were preparing something long before I ever noticed it was coming. A friendship, a job, a healing, a change of heart I didn't even know I needed. I believe you are doing that again now, even in this waiting, even in this silence that feels so much longer than I wanted it to be. Lord, I think about the specific things I've been carrying, the finances that don't add up the way I wish they did, the relationship that feels distant or uncertain or harder than it used to be, the health that hasn't improved the way I hoped, the dream that still feels far away. I name these things before you now, not because you don't already know them, but because I need to hear myself say them out loud, in your presence, and feel the weight of them shift, even slightly, onto your shoulders instead of mine. You already know every detail. You already know the numbers, the names, the nights I couldn't sleep because of them. I don't have to explain myself to you. I just have to bring myself to you, exactly as I am. Lord, I confess that I compare my life to others more than I'd like to admit. I scroll past someone else's good news and feel a small, uncomfortable ache where joy for them should be. I don't like that part of myself. I don't want a heart that measures my worth by how my timeline looks next to someone else's. Forgive me for the moments I've quietly resented what you've given other people while I'm still waiting for mine. Help me remember that you are not comparing me to anyone else. You are not running my life on the same clock as theirs. My story was never meant to look like theirs. It was only ever meant to look like mine, written by you, in your time. Teach me to celebrate other people's answered prayers without it reopening the wound of my own unanswered ones. Let their joy remind me that you do answer, that you are not a God who plays favorites, that my turn has not been canceled, only perhaps not yet. Lord, if I'm honest, I'm afraid of the future too. Afraid that if this current waiting doesn't end well, I won't know how to keep believing. Afraid of what happens if the answer I've hoped for never comes at all. I don't like admitting that fear exists, but it does, quietly. Underneath the hope I try to hold on to in the daylight, I ask you to meet me in that fear, Lord, not to scold it away, but to sit with me in it, the way a good father sits with a frightened child, until the fear loosens its grip on its own. I don't need every answer about tomorrow. I only need to know that you will be there in it, whatever it looks like. Help me hold my future with open hands instead of a clenched fist, not because I don't care what happens, but because I trust the one who already knows what happens and who has never once been surprised by my life. Lord, I bring you the ordinary weariness too, the parts of my life that don't make headlines but wear me down all the same, the work that feels heavier than it used to, the responsibilities at home that never seem to end, the quiet exhaustion of showing up day after day, for people who don't always notice the effort it takes. I'm tired in ways that are hard to explain, even to the people who love me most. Renew me, Lord, in the ordinary places. Meet me in the laundry, in the traffic, in the meetings, in the meals I make without anyone thanking me for them. Let your strength hold up the parts of my life that no one applauds, because you see them, even when no one else does. Lord, somewhere along the way, I let this waiting start to define how I see myself. I've started to wonder if I'm the problem, if I'm somehow less worthy of good things than the people around me whose lives seem to move so easily. I know that's not the truth, but it's been living quietly in my chest anyway, shaping how I see myself when I look in the mirror. Remind me, Lord, that my worth was never tied to how quickly my prayers get answered. I am not loved less because I'm still waiting. I am not behind in some race everyone else is winning. You don't measure my value by my circumstances. You never have. You looked at me and called me yours before I had done a single thing to earn it, and nothing about this waiting season has changed that. Help me see myself the way you see me. Not as someone stuck, not as someone forgotten, but as someone deeply loved, right in the middle of an unfinished story. Lord, there are people I need to forgive. And if I'm honest, some days that list includes you. I don't say that to be irreverent. I say it because I want to be honest with you about the small, quiet frustration I've carried. The moments I've felt let down even while believing you are good. I bring that tension to you now because I don't want to carry it in silence anymore. Help me forgive the people who hurt me while I was already struggling, the ones who didn't understand, who said the wrong thing, who grew tired of my waiting before I did. Help me release the disappointment I've felt toward you, not because you did anything wrong, but because my expectations and your timing didn't match, and that mismatch has been hard to sit with. Soften whatever has grown hard in me during this season. The edges of bitterness, the flashes of resentment, the moments I've pulled away from people who love me because I didn't have the energy to explain what I was feeling. Make me soft again, Lord. Not fragile. Soft. The kind of soft that can still receive love, even while it's still waiting for answers. Lord, my mind has been busy lately, running through the same worries again and again, late at night and first thing in the morning. I picture the worst outcome before I let myself picture the best one. I rehearse conversations that haven't happened. I carry tomorrow's worries into today, on top of everything today already asks of me. Quiet my mind, Lord. Where anxious thoughts multiply, let your peace multiply faster. I don't need every worry silenced forever. I just need help carrying the ones that are here right now, today, in this moment. Help me hand them to you as they come, instead of collecting them all and carrying them alone. You have never once been overwhelmed by what overwhelms me. Let that truth be bigger this morning than my racing thoughts. Lord, I think about the people I love, my family, the ones I'm responsible for, the ones whose futures feel tied up in mine. I worry that my waiting is somehow costing them too. I worry about what I'm passing down to the people who are watching how I handle hard seasons. I want them to see faith in me, not just fear. Help me model something good for the people who are watching, Lord. Not perfection, but persistence. Not certainty, but trust. Let them see that even when I didn't have all the answers, I kept showing up, I kept praying. I kept believing you were still working. If nothing else comes from this season, let that be what it leaves behind. A quiet example of someone who waited well. Watch over the people I love while I carry what I'm carrying. Meet their needs even in the moments I don't have the strength to meet them myself. You are their father before you are anything to me, and I trust you with them completely. Lord, sometimes I feel misunderstood, even by people who love me and mean well. They offer advice when I just need to be heard. They move on from my situation faster than I do, because it isn't the thing keeping them up at night. I don't say this with bitterness. I know they're doing their best. But some days I feel like I'm waiting in a room mostly by myself, even surrounded by people. Thank you that you are not one of those people, Lord. You don't grow tired of hearing about the same situation. You don't change the subject when I bring it up again. You don't need me to explain it differently or word it better before you understand. You have understood it completely from the very first time I brought it to you, and you will understand it just as completely the next time, and the time after that. Send me the right people too, Lord, the ones who know how to sit with me without needing to fix me, and help me be patient with the ones who don't quite know how, because they are trying, in their own way, to love me well. Lord, my body has been carrying this waiting too, in ways words don't always capture. The tension that settles in my shoulders by the end of the day, the headaches that come from thinking too hard about things I can't control, the nights my body won't settle, even when my mind finally quiets down. I bring this to you honestly, because you made this body, and you understand it better than I do. I don't fully understand why healing, or rest, or relief hasn't come the way I've asked for it. But I trust that you see what my body carries, even the parts I haven't named out loud to anyone. Meet me there, Lord. Let your peace reach all the way down into the places tension has made its home. Whatever I'm waiting for in my health, in my strength, in my energy to simply get through each day, I place it in your hands. Not because I've stopped hoping for change, but because I trust the one who holds both the waiting and the healing. However, and whenever it comes. So Lord, today I choose to trust you with what I cannot see. I choose to believe that you are working, even now, in ways I won't understand until later. I choose to hold on to hope, not because I have proof, but because I have you. And you have never once failed me. Not really. Not when I look back honestly at my whole story. Lord, I want to be honest about one more thing. Before I close this prayer, part of me is still afraid to fully let go of the outcome I've been hoping for. Afraid that if I truly surrender it, I'm somehow giving up on it. But I know that's not what surrender means. Surrender doesn't mean I stop hoping. It means I stop trying to control something that was never mine to control in the first place. So today, as best as I know how, I place this in your hands. Not perfectly, not without a little fear still attached to it, but honestly. Do what only you can do. Move what only you can move. And give me the grace to trust you in the meantime, one ordinary day at a time. Thank you for hearing this prayer. Thank you for meeting me exactly where I am, tired and uncertain and still hoping. I bring you my waiting, Lord, and I ask you to hold it with me. moment by moment, breath by breath, until the day the answer finally arrives. And as you rest in these words, hear what God wants to whisper to your heart today. I know the silence has felt heavy. I know you've wondered if I've forgotten you, if I've moved on to someone else's prayer while yours sits untouched. I want you to hear this clearly. Beloved, I have not forgotten you. Not for 1 hour. Not for one breath. Not for a single moment of the waiting you've been walking through. I am working even when you cannot see it. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is moving. There is more happening behind the scenes of your life than you could possibly imagine. Doors are being prepared. Hearts are being softened. Circumstances are being arranged in ways that will only make sense when you look back and see the whole picture, all at once, the way I've seen it from the very beginning. Think of a seed planted in the ground. For a long time, there is nothing to see. No proof. No sign of life. From where you stand, it looks like nothing is happening at all. But underneath the surface, roots are forming. Life is beginning. The most important work is happening exactly where you cannot see it. This is what your waiting looks like from where I sit. Not empty, not wasted, not still. Working. Your waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. I am not far from you in this season. I am closer than I have ever been, doing the deep work that only happens in the dark, quiet places, the places no one else can see but me. There is a prophet named Habakkuk who once cried out to me, confused about why I seemed silent while everything around him fell apart. And I told him this: write down the vision, because though it may seem to delay, it is coming. It will not be late. Wait for it. I am saying the same thing to you this morning. What I have promised will come. It is not too late. It has not been forgotten. It has not been lost somewhere between heaven and earth. I told my people through the prophet Isaiah that I was doing a new thing, and that it would spring up before they could even perceive it. That is what I am doing in you right now. Something new is already forming, even in the parts of your life that feel stuck. You will not always be where you are today. This chapter is not your whole story. The Apostle Paul wrote that the one who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Not abandon it halfway. Not leave it unfinished on some heavenly shelf. I am not the kind of God who starts something and walks away. What I have started in you, I will finish. In my time. In my way. And it will be worth the wait. I know some of what you're facing doesn't make sense to you right now. My ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. What looks like delay to you is often preparation to me. What looks like a closed door to you might be me protecting you from something you cannot see on the other side of it. A disappointment, a danger, a detour you would have regretted taking. I want to remind you who you are while you wait, because waiting has a way of making people forget. You are not defined by what hasn't happened yet. You are mine, chosen, called, and kept, regardless of how this season ends. Nothing about your identity is on hold, even while your circumstances are. You are not behind. There is no invisible race you are losing. Every person around you is walking their own timeline, and yours was never meant to match theirs. What feels like being left behind is often simply me preparing something that requires more time than the things I give to others. Not because you are loved less, but because what I am building in you is being built to last. Remember the story of a young man named Joseph who was betrayed by his own brothers and spent years in places he never chose to be. A pit, a prison, a foreign land far from home. For a long season, it must have felt to him like I had disappeared. But I was working the entire time, arranging circumstances he could not see, until the day came when he could finally say, "What you meant for harm, God used for good." I am doing the same kind of work in your story, quietly, patiently, even on the days it feels like nothing at all is happening. Remember Abraham and Sarah, who were given a promise while they were still young enough to expect it quickly, and then watched year after year pass with no sign of it coming true. By the time the promise was finally fulfilled, they had long since stopped counting the years. But I had not forgotten a single one of them. What I said would happen, happened, not on their schedule, but on mine, and it was worth every year it took to arrive. Remember David, anointed to be king while he was still a boy watching sheep in a field. Years passed. He was hunted, hidden, forced to live in caves, forgotten by nearly everyone who had once celebrated him, long before he ever sat on a throne. The anointing was real from the very first day. The waiting was not a sign that I had changed my mind. It was the space where I was shaping him into who he needed to become before he could carry what I had promised him. Remember Zechariah and Elizabeth, who prayed for a child for so many years that by the time I answered, they had grown old, and the answer seemed almost impossible to believe. I had not forgotten their prayer on the very first day they prayed it. I was simply waiting for the moment it would mean the most. And when it came, it changed everything. Your story is being written the same way. Not on the timeline you expected, not in the order you would have chosen, but held the whole time by a God who has never once forgotten a promise he made. I know your heart aches for the things I haven't given you yet, but I want you to remember that I know the plans I have for you. Plans for good and not for harm. Plans to give you a future and a hope. Not a future I'll get around to eventually. A future I am building for you right now, brick by brick. Even in this waiting, there is a promise written for those who love me, that all things work together for good, even the things that don't feel good while you're living through them. Not that every hard thing is good in itself, but that I am able to take even your hardest chapters and weave them into something that serves your healing, not your harm. I have done this before, in stories far more broken than yours. I am doing it now, in yours. I have made everything beautiful in its time. Not your time. Not the time you circled on a calendar months ago. Mine. And my timing has never once been early or late. It has always been exactly right, even when it required more patience from you than you thought you had. My mercies are new every morning. My faithfulness is great. That means today, this exact day, with all its unanswered questions, is covered by a faithfulness that does not run out, does not get tired, does not decide you're no longer worth the effort. Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning. Even if your night has stretched longer than you expected, the morning is still coming. I have never once broken that promise. I want you to know that your present troubles are light and momentary when compared to what I am preparing for you. Even when they don't feel light at all, even when they feel like the heaviest thing you've ever carried. What you cannot see is eternal. What you can see is temporary. I am asking you to fix your eyes on what lasts. Those who hope in me will renew their strength. They will rise up as if carried on wings. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint. I am not asking you to sprint through this season on your own strength. I am offering you mine, exchanged for yours. One weary day at a time. You are not forgotten. You are not too far gone. You are not being punished for asking too many questions or doubting too many nights. Grace is still reaching for you, even now, even here. Even in the parts of this season that have felt the most silent, I see the tears you've cried when no one else was watching. I have collected every one of them in a bottle only I can see. Not a single moment of your waiting has gone unnoticed by me. I am near to the brokenhearted, and I am near to you, especially in the parts of this season that have felt the most broken. I am working in the relationship that feels distant right now. I am working in the healing your body needs. I am working in the provision you've been praying for. I am working in the door that still looks closed. I am working in the dream you've almost stopped believing in. None of it has been set aside. None of it has been forgotten. All of it is still mine to finish. My timing is not late. It has never been late. What I have promised, I will bring to pass. Not because you've earned it through perfect faith, but because I am faithful. Even when you are not. Even when your grip on hope feels loose. Even when you've almost let go. So carry this with you today. The same God who set the stars in place and calls each one by name has not lost track of you. The same hands that hold the universe together are holding your life together too. Even the parts that still feel unfinished, even the pieces that don't make sense yet. I called myself Emmanuel, God with you. Not God near you, not God somewhere above you, but God with you. In the room, in the silence, in the waiting itself. I did not step back to watch your life from a distance while you figured this out alone. I have been with you in every version of this morning you've had. Every version where the answer still hadn't come. Every version where you wondered if I noticed at all. I noticed. I noticed the way you kept praying even when it felt pointless. I noticed the way you got up anyway, showed up anyway, hoped anyway. None of that has gone unseen. None of it will go unrewarded. Let this truth settle over you now. You are being cared for in ways you cannot yet see. And when the moment comes for it to be revealed, you will understand that I never once stopped working. Not for a single day of this journey. Carry these promises with you, and before you go, receive this final blessing. Before you step into your day, let this settle over you. Like light breaking through a window, you are not standing still. Even in the waiting, you are being carried forward, gently, by a God who has never once lost sight of you. The silence you've been sitting in was never empty. It was full of work you couldn't see, love you couldn't measure, and faithfulness that never once wavered. Even on the days it felt otherwise. May you walk into today with a little more peace than you had yesterday. May the doubt that's been whispering in the back of your mind grow quieter, replaced by a steady, settled trust that He is near and that He is working, even now, even in this. May you notice small signs of His presence today, in a conversation, in a moment of unexpected calm, in a small provision you weren't expecting. And when you notice them, may you remember this morning, and remember that you were never alone in the waiting. May your body find rest, even in the middle of a full day. May your mind find quiet, even when the questions haven't all been answered yet. May your heart hold on to hope, not because everything has been resolved, but because you know who is holding you, and you know He has never once let go. You don't have to have this all figured out today. You don't have to see the whole plan to trust the one who's writing it. Just take the next step. Just breathe the next breath. He is already there, ahead of you, preparing the way before you even arrive. When the day gets loud, and it probably will, let a small part of you remember this quiet morning. Let it be an anchor you can return to, not because the waiting has ended, but because you were reminded here that you were never waiting alone. The same peace that met you in this moment is available to you again at noon, and again tonight, and again tomorrow morning, as many times as you need to come back and find it. If today brings a small sign of His work, an answered text, a moment of unexpected ease, a wave of calm you can't quite explain, let yourself notice it. Don't dismiss it as coincidence. Let it be what it is. Evidence that the God who has been working in the dark is still working and is not finished yet. And if today looks exactly like yesterday, no visible change, no clear sign, the same waiting stretched out ahead of you, let this morning still count for something. Let it be the day you chose to trust anyway. Let it be one more quiet act of faith added to a story that is still being written, one you will one day look back on and finally understand. In full, carry this with you into every hour of today. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are not standing still. You are being carried, cared for, and worked on by a God who never sleeps and never stops. If these words brought you a little peace this morning, stay close. Grace meets you here every day. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. There's always room for you here. Rest now, beloved. Grace will meet you again at dawn.